Hi, and welcome back. Imagine you work in a product team and a part of your job is to write tweets so that you can share updates and explain features. And you actually want those tweets to be clear and fun and worth reading. In this video, we will show how to write those tweets using LLM automatically while still keeping the tone sharp and on point. We will also show how you can evaluate outputs on the go so that you can iterate until you actually get what you need. Let's dive in. I'm going to use my Jupyter notebook to run this tutorial. You can do the same or go for Google Colab. Let me start from a couple of imports. It's OpenAI and Pandas. And well, as maybe a future blogger, I prefer to first come up with the topics I want to tweet on and then ask LLM to write the full blog post or tweet for me. So I selected something close to me, like technical, related to software engineering, testing, and evaluation. So it will be like, testing in AI engineering is as important as in development. Well, good point actually. CI/CD is applicable in AI and so on. I have 5 topics, so you can read it right here. Basically, that's it, and I need to create my OpenAI client so that I can call it and generate my tweets. And as you can see, there is no secrets right here, so I do not have here OpenAI API key, and this is because I actually have my set as environment variable. You can do the same. Well, now it's done. Let's try to do some basic tweet generation. And for doing this, I'm going to use Responses API. So I'm going to just create a tweet, and my input will be write a paragraph about my topic, right? So that's just a preview. I want to see how it works, and actually I want to check whether I can then wrap this code into function and apply it to all my topics. So that's just like a testing. So yeah, no system prompts, no instructions, just write a paragraph about my topic. Here we go, magic happening, and let's see the text. You see that there are a lot of things and features, so actually to see the output, I would need to go for output text. So here's my output. Well, let's spend a couple of seconds to read through it. Yeah, it has a point. Testing is critical. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I like it. So I think it makes sense to apply this prompt to all of my topics and see whether it's nice, engaging, and worth tweeting. I would wrap my instruction into the function. So basically it took as an argument client, model, topic, and well, I'm not even sure that I should pass client like that. Let me quickly update it. So I think I would better do like this. I don't really want to pass the client as the variable here. So yeah, well, a little bit of refactoring right here. Now I can call it live demo. So let's see whether it works still. Now I took the last topic with -1 index. Yeah, it's about evidently, and yeah, evidently indeed is a powerful tool for conducting LLM testing. Yeah, nice. So I'm happy with the outcome. So now let me run a proper experiment. I'm going to do a couple of iterations to write in my tweets, and in order to evaluate how engaging, how nice, how positive it is, I'm going to use evidently report. So the steps would be the following. I'm going to generate tweets on my topics, then I'm going to generate evidently report and score all the tweets, and as soon as I'm happy, I potentially can go and tweet them in evidently account, if Lena let me do that. For doing an experiment, I wanted to introduce to you a new topic, which is tracing. Actually, tracing is very interesting and I would say helpful in order to lock down everything that's happening in your function or your bigger code module so that you can later read through traces and understand every single detail you logged into the system. For doing that, we are going to use not only evidently but also Tracely library, and let me quickly show it to you. Tracely is a library introduced by Evidently, and it's the tool designed to trace and monitor AI models, so that you can understand everything happening during the AI interactions. I'm going to use it here in my experiments, so in order to repeat those steps, you need to install Tracely as well. The instructions should be very similar, just go for pip install or conda install, so you can use the same structure to install this package as you used for Evidently. So From tracing, I'm going to import init tracing and trace event. And I'm going to also import a lot of standard things from Evidently, which we touched before. It's Cloud Workspace so that I can initiate my client, and things like dataset, data definition, report, and a lot of descriptors, presets, and templates so that I can build up my report nicely. So I have it. Now let's create Evidently client so that I can connect to the cloud and my organization. I will be able to create a report and load some data there. And let us create new project. This one should be called content generation. Well, that makes sense. Here's my project. Let us quickly go and see whether we have it in Evidently. It's not like I have some doubts, but just wants to see it. Yeah, here it is. Let me start it. Yeah, it will be right here. And I can close up demo so that we have this project first. Okay, now let us initiate tracing. And this is actually a very interesting thing. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm telling that I'm going to use traces here, and I need to set where to trace my data. So basically I need to specify the project. It will be this project, so I'm going to use project ID here, and I need to set up an expert name because I can trace different things in my project and have several tracing datasets there. I will introduce to you this tracing dataset concept a bit later as soon as we trace something so that we can go and see how it basically looks like. So yeah, in order to initiate our tracing, we need to specify project ID and expert name. Init tracing also needs API key. I set it as environment variable, and you would need to specify the cloud address, but as we use the default one, we can just skip it. Here we go. If you go now to Evidently Cloud, navigate to our project, and go for traces, you will be able to see this dataset generated. It's empty, of course, because we did not log anything there, but you already have an expert ID, name, and you can see that it's here. Okay, so let's move on. Remember our previous function, basic tweet generation? Here we go again. So now I recrafted it a little bit. Now we have 3 arguments, its topic, model, and instructions, and we still use basis responses API so that we can pass the instructions, model, input, and generate the output. And now I'm going to output only the tweet itself, just because I want to start from the very simple tracing. There will be only a few values, all input values, and the output. So basically, in order to wrap my function by tracing, I'm just going to use this decorator trace event without any arguments, so we just started, but actually you can customize it quite a lot. There are quite a lot of instructions how you can do that. The full init tracing instructions are here, and you can read how you can customize tracing with different parameters like span name, track args, ignore args, track outputs, parse output, so that's quite a lot. But I'm gonna start from basics. Here we go, and now let's generate all these tweets for our topics. Oh, we need to actually run the cell before so that we have the new implementation of basic tweet generation function. Here we go. Yeah, now let's actually generate those tweets. You can see that I'm using model GPT 3.5 Turbo, so I'm trying to save some tokens here, and maybe it will be enough for my pretty simple tasks, and I did not use any instructions. So now it's ready. I think I can just print it out. Oh, those are pretty long, and I'm not going to bore you guys by reading all this out loud, and actually that's not what I would do myself. I would prefer to implement some report with some descriptors so that they can help me to judge my tweets without reading them myself, so that I understand whether they are good, engaging, and actually positive. So let us do that, but before, actually I would like to access those tweets in the formats of dataset. 100% I could construct the data frame and dataset myself from this list because, well, it's already like a column of tweets, but I just wanted to introduce to you how we can load data from tracing. So let's access our traces. Now I can actually hit the view button, and you can see that, well, we have all these 5 tweets. There are different ways how we can browse it. Actually, we can view them one by one. So let me start from the first one, I guess. I just hit the view button, and let us see the parameters. So basically you have general statistics like the duration, child spans, etc., but you have only a single function without any child function, etc., so the structure is very plain, like a single call. Here we have some attributes, its topic, its model instructions. We parsed those attributes from the input arguments of the function, right? And yeah, this is why instruction is empty. We didn't have any, and the model's result. So if we do use trace event without any specified parameters, we automatically get all the input argument from the function and the return. That's it. Also, you can browse this data in the format of dataset. Let me quickly go there. And in this case, remember the dataset near evidentless report, it's very similar. So now you have the column for every single value, right? And you can just scroll and read everything down. And if you need to go back to the tracing view, you can just hit the button go to trace and you'll be able to see the trace, right? Here it is. So, okay, actually we are here for a pretty important reason, because we need to access the ID of our dataset. Let me go to traces, and here is my expert ID. Let me copy it from here, and I'm gonna go back to the code. And in order to load this tracing from Evidently Cloud, I would need to specify this ID here. And that's actually pretty convenient, especially if you work in a team and one engineer is responsible for tracing and the other engineer or data scientist or product manager is responsible for doing some analysis. In my case, it's all goes down to myself, so I just copy the dataset ID and load data back here. Actually, now we loaded not just pure data, but the whole dataset object. And you have pretty lot of nice things here. For instance, we can go for data definition. And you see that it's already created for us. So we understand quite a lot of things about our dataset. We have the categorical columns like model or instructions. Well, in our case, it is categorical because no chances to guess that it's raw text, right? Also, we have information about the topic and the result, and the dataset understands that it's text columns. Very nice. So great, let's use this data definition later. And also we have data, of course, and if I go for dataset as data frame command, I can see it in the form of data frame, right? So I have quite a lot of additional columns, but also I have all my data, like topic, model, empty instructions, and the tweet as well. So nice, I have everything to actually build my report. I mentioned before that those tweets should be worth reading, so I think it's good to keep them quite engaging. To make sure my tweets are engaging, I created my binary classification template, so basically I'm later going to create LLM judge based on this template to check whether my tweets are engaging or neutral. So let us formulate the criteria in a way that there are some specific points that should be hit if the tweet is engaging, and all the opposite things will be neutral. So you can read through that. I'm going to run it. So yeah, my target category would be engaging, my non-target category will be neutral, and whenever a model is uncertain about the label, I would ask it to return neutral, right? So that I cannot mistake my neutral tweets by engaging and to post it somewhere. So that's a safer strategy for me. Now let's create descriptors, and together with LLM evaluation for engagingness, if I can say so, I'm going to also measure text length and sentiment. Length because I consider to tweet them, so I need to be in the tweet limitations in terms of length, and sentiment because I just want to keep them neutral or positive, but definitely not negative. So that's are my descriptors. I'm going to run command and descriptors. Yeah, let's wait. Done. And now if I call dataset as data frame, I should be able to see some additional columns related to those descriptors. So I expect to have like 4 more columns. Let's check if it's here. Yeah, it's length, sentiment, tweet quality, and reasoning. This is why for 3 descriptors we have like 4 more columns. Great. And ouch, I can see no engaging tweets actually. But yeah, let's keep iterating. Maybe at the end of this tutorial I will be able to get at least like a couple of engaging tweets, but I'm not sure because, well, it's not my strength, definitely. I'm not good at writing. So yeah, let's generate a report now. And what I'm gonna do is to add a couple of text to my report so that I can later understand the connection between the experiment result and the parameters I had. In this case, I'm going to say that I used GPT 3.5 Turbo and basic generation without any instructions. And I'm going to send this data to the project. Yeah, it's now there. I even see the ID of this run. Good. So now let's move on to the better generation. In this case, actually, I would add some instructions. So I would tell that the LLM is the chief editor with 10 years of experience in technical writing, and I will also say that it specializes in creating concise and engaging and to-the-point content for engineers. I think that's pretty nice. Okay, and now let me use the same function to actually generate those tweets, but with this instruction and with better model. Now I'm going to use GPT 4o mini in hope that maybe it will be able to generate for me better tweets. So let me do that. While we are generating, let's go to Cloud and see the new updates in our traces. Let me go back to trace view. Wow, now we see much more tweets. Let's take a look at dataset view. Yeah, you can see that now we have both tweets from the previous interaction, from the current interaction, so that's quite nice. Let me copy the dataset ID again, because I'm going to load it back to the code and analyze it a little bit. So yeah, now if I pull this data from the cloud, I will actually get not only data from this current experiment iteration, but the whole tracing data. For some cases, that's exactly what you need, because you might want to play around with all the experiments you had, or maybe for some other cases, you would prefer actually to store those data in separate datasets. In the next experiment iteration, I'm going to show you this exactly so that you can decide whether you want to create the separate dataset or continue to write your data in the same one. To me personally, both works quite nice, so you can go for any strategy you want. In my case, I get dataset for all the experiments, previous and the current, so you see that I have like much longer pandas data frame, but it's so simple to parse only current experiment. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to create the data frame out of my data, so basically I just use dataset as data frame command, and then I'm going to use simple filtering. I know that in my new experiment I use GPT 4o mini, so if I just select my data by this parameter, I'm gonna get on the new experiment. That's it. Those are my better tweets. Perfect. Else I have 5 only. Nice. So what you're going to do next is somehow calculate our descriptors and generate a report, and this is fairly simple. In this case, I decided to create the new dataset object from pandas, so I can use my better tweets data frame. I'm also going to reuse the data definition from the previous iteration. Why so? Because my data definition stayed the same, which is great, and I'm going to reuse descriptors list, which I already created, because again I need to keep the same descriptors. So you see, that's very fast and I would say pretty convenient. Now I generate my new dataset, and we can preview it quickly to check whether we have our descriptors there presented. And yep, here we are. My gosh, no engaging tweets. Well, we definitely need to do better. So let me quickly summarize it as a report and send it to the project. Now we need to come up with a better strategy, and I believe chain generation is exactly what we need. So I'm not going to create my tweets from scratch again, but what I'm going to do here is to update or rewrite existing tweets, making them more engaging and fun, I guess. So here I promised to show you how you can trace your data but send it to the new dataset, and that's exactly what's happening here. So in order to do that, I need to initiate new tracing. That's exactly what's happening here, but I'm going to send this traced data to the same project. This is why I keep the same project ID here. The new name for my export, content generation, changed, but I believe you guys can come up with a better name. And I'm going also to mention parameter as global false, so that I can have a new tracing in the same environment where I had the previous one. So let me do that. Okay, let us quickly check if you have new tracing data. Yep, we have a new data set. It should be empty, of course it is. Now let's go back to the code and let's update our strategy to tweet generation or regeneration in this case. First of all, I want to create new instruction. Let it be more positive. So I'm trying to say that we are writing from the evidently engineer-like persona. And again, a lot of experience in technical writing, but now let me emphasize then that text should be engaging. Maybe positive, fun, I don't know. Let me start from word fun. So I'm really, I'm trying. I'm trying to make it nice. So, okay. And yeah, now we have the other function. I called it chained tweet generation, and basically this function takes as an input the tweet, not just a topic. And what I ask to do here is to make this tweet more engaging, maybe more personal. Maybe I would need to mention fine here as well. I also want these tweets to fit under the X limitations, and yeah, maybe a couple of more instructions to use a persuasive tone and do not use any emotions and hashtags, but that's my personal preferences. Yeah, I think it's a good function. So now let's generate tweets and just take a look what I'm doing here. Instead of taking my topics as the input, I just take the previous iteration, better tweets, and I use the result, which is basically the output from the previous iteration. It's not like I'm recommending you to build your prompt chains like this, but in our case, the goal is not like to show how you can write production-grade code for prompt chaining, right? It's rather to set some experiments, and if I already have this data, I just do not want to regenerate it again, so I would better just reuse it. It's generating, and while it's generating, let me go and access the dataset ID for my new dataset. It's already traces. Let me go here because I need to copy this ID and specify it here. It's done, so let us load this data back here. And my God, I hope for the best. Let me quickly show you data definition. Here we go. Yeah, pretty similar structure, but now the names of columns are different because the function is called differently, right? So now it's not just better tweets or basic tweets generation, it's chained tweet generation. But I just wanted to draw your attention here so that you do not reuse the previous data definition because it just doesn't fit here. It doesn't suit because, well, the column names are different. So yeah, let us now regenerate descriptors because now we need to specify this new name for our columns. Yeah, now let's add descriptors to the dataset. Again, it's pretty similar command to what we do in our first iteration. Oh, I hope so much to have at least one engaging tweet. So wish me good luck here. I'm generating my report. And let's send it to the cloud. So yeah, now let's go and preview whether we have any successful tweets or not. In this case, I'm gonna go to the reports. And it's so easy to find my last report. Here it is. So it's chain generation, GPT 4.1. At least one engaging, please. Please, please, please. So length is correct. All, yeah, less than X limitations. Yeah, I have engaging tweets. I have 3 actually. Perfect. I have something to tweet. Yeah, let us take a look at those tweets. So I'm gonna go to the tweet quality column. Yeah, and oh, why it's negative actually? Oh, what's happening here? Let me just read through that. Oh yeah, I see why it's negative. Fixing broken AI models is not positive at all. Oh, I like the second one. Tired of guesswork with LLMs. Yeah, I like it. Actually, it's quite similar to what I would have said myself, but I'm not able to write those nice tweets myself, so yeah, I'm happy with the results. Finally, let me quickly go to the dashboard and show how I can preview the experiment results in a dashboard so that we understand what is the most successful strategy. In this case, I'm just going to use like the pre-built tab, which is called columns, and I'm going to submit it here. So yeah, here I have all the statistics for all the descriptors in our reports. First is the length, so we can see that At the very last experiment, we had finally like shorter tweets, which is great. Also the sentiment, wow, that's quite interesting. Only in the last experiment we had some negative results. Well, yeah. But here is my favorite plot, because here we have statistics over neutral or unengaging tweets, and I can see that here in the very last experiment, finally I have 3 engaging tweets, so I can go to the report and enjoy the statistics. I believe in this point I want to stop the tutorial because I shared everything I wanted with you guys here. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed tracing. I hope you enjoyed making reports with custom LLM judges to evaluate tweets quality. And in case you need to use your LLM to content generation or anything where you do not have any reference data and need to come up with some, let's say, custom descriptors to understand the quality of your experiments on your outputs, now you know how to do that. Bye-bye.